wonderful day that is getting all growing things what they need, but makes travel a little bit problematic. I'm going to talk with you today about, and I need to get my slides up, if you could convert it back there, please. Really, what do we learn from the war on cancer about cell phone radiation? I'd like to ask, how many of you were here last night for the discussion that we held? Okay. So I will recap a few of the things that I talked about then. But basically, as some of you know, I wrote a book called The Secret History of the War on Cancer. And I've also, these are just some of my background information. For those of you who are interested, these slides will be available on our website, which is ehtrust.org, and I will repeatedly show you that. But the book, The Secret History of the War on Cancer, really talked about how we invested in a war against a disease, but really failed to invest in preventing it. And that at the beginning of the declaration of the war on cancer in 1970s, President Nixon was in a bad situation, as I think you all may recall. We were losing the war in Southeast Asia. We were losing the war on drugs. He thought this was going to be a winnable war, and within 10 years he would be able to declare victory. Mission accomplished. Well, it didn't turn out that way. He was mistaken. And one of the reasons he was mistaken is that at the beginning of the war on cancer, it was quite silent about tobacco. Not only was it silent about tobacco, but at the time, the US government was spending millions of dollars to develop a safe cigarette. A safe cigarette. And that project was funded by the tobacco industry in the US government. I document that in my book, The Secret History of the War on Cancer. So we failed to address the causes of cancer that were known at that time, and instead focused on treating the disease. Well, anyone who has cancer wants to be treated, of course. So the constituency for treatment has always been much, much stronger than the constituency for prevention. I'm not, the book Disconnect, that if those of you want to share it with your family, is available through Amazon. This is the one that I hope you will buy. That has an up-to-date afterword that talks about the war games that have been carried out by this industry very successfully. I'm going to today talk about what we've learned from the secret history of the war on cancer. Then I'm going to go into the science of what we now know about microwave radiation from cell phones and other devices. And we know a lot more than the public generally believes. There's a lot of solid scientific information, and yet official bodies have been rather reluctant to embrace the advice that is generally been provided by the scientists, most of whom are working outside the United States today. And that's not an accident. The United States is not investing in public health research on this topic. They are not investing in it. We go for the big project, like the National Toxicology Program, $25 million study I'm going to tell you about. But there is no routine monitoring, no surveillance, no systematic collection of data on, for example, damage to sperm, which is one of the things we have to be concerned about with cell phone radiation. So the Chinese have an expression, a way of looking is a way of not looking. And if you're not looking for something, if you're talking about greening your house and you're not talking about wireless, if you're talking about trying to live a healthier life and eating better, and you're not talking about your exposures to wireless radiation, you're missing a significant piece of what could be explaining your psoriasis, your insomnia, your diabetes, your atrial fibrillation. So I'm going to talk as well about the business and government responses that have taken place to this issue and explain why we study animals. But before going into that further, I want to show you two short things that have been done by students working with us. We have a program, we're always looking for high school interns. This is work that was generated with these kids, working in one case with a filmmaker. They're 30-second public service announcements. 30 seconds, that's all it is. And I'm going to show you, James, when we're ready. We'll show you the first one. We need the sound, though. You have to get the sound up. And once you start it again, please. It's only 30 seconds, so take it up higher.
Serena Scott. When I ski or ride my bike, I always wear my helmet. Whenever I talk on my cell phone,
Can you bring up the sound?
Or a headset for the same reason, to protect my brain. Cell phones really are small microwave radios. Young adults' brains are still developing and are much more susceptible to radiation. I'm not going to stop using my cell phone, but I want to use it safely so that nothing gets in the way of my fun. Oh, I'll text them back.
All right. Yes, you can show it a second time. It's 30 seconds. Watch.
That's me, Serena Scott. When I ski or ride my bike, I always wear my helmet. Whenever I talk on my cell phone, I use speakerphone or a headset for the same reason, to protect my brain. Cell phones really are small microwave radios. Young adults' brains are still developing and are much more susceptible to radiation. I'm not going to stop using my cell phone, but I want to use it safely so that nothing gets in the way of my fun. Oh, I'll text them back.
Well, that was one, and it's 30 seconds long, and it's, I think, rather powerful. And we are trying to get support now to show this in local movie theaters. It's run in Jackson Hole in the local movie theater, I think over 100 times. That young lady was the state ski champion, so in Jackson Hole she was a big hero in 10th grade. So we were able to show this in the local theater, and people thought this was really great. The next one is a little more sad, and this is also from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. This is also 30 seconds long, and we'll need the sound up on it, James. And this is of a local jazz composer and pianist, let's just run it. I think it speaks for itself.
Hi, I'm Keith Phillips. I'm a musician, I'm a piano player, and I'm a brain tumor survivor. And I just want you to be careful. Remember, distance is your friend. Keep your cell phone away from your head.
Yeah. So Keith lived a while with his brain tumor, but longer than many, because he was such an athlete and because he ate a good diet. But no matter what kind of diet you eat and how much clean water and how much effort you make, if you have your phone next to your brain or in your pocket or on your body, you're exposing yourself to microwave radiation that has serious effects. Now, what do we learn from animals? We study animals to predict and prevent harm in humans. That's why we study animals. And we know that every compound that we know causes cancer in humans will also produce it in animals when adequately studied. And therefore, as a matter of public policy, we treat animal carcinogens as though they can cause cancer in humans. And we do develop drugs based on animal testing. And yet, you will hear huge debates about the validity of animal data for humans when it comes to cell phone radiation. Now, these are some of the reasons why we know the environment is an avoidable cause of cancer. If you're an adopted child, your risk of cancer mirrors that of your adopted family, not the family into which you were born. We have data on biological parents and adopted parents. So your risk of cancer becomes that of the family in which you are raised. Fewer than half of identical twins get the same cancer, and I'm going to show you some amazing chromosomal data in a moment. Migrants who move from Asia to the United States develop the risk of breast and prostate cancer of our country rather than the country from which they came. And workers generally have higher rates that are unexplained. Now, we study humans not to prove that something causes cancer, but in order to confirm the past. I want you to realize studies on humans confirm the past. They should not be used as the basis for public policy. We shouldn't be waiting for human data. We can look and compare people under a case control design and look at highly exposed workers where we have them and look at trends over time if we have them, but we often don't have these data. We don't have studies in this case of twins with different patterns of using cell phones. But if we did, we could make some conclusions from them. We don't have good studies on patterns in different age groups. But let me tell you why we know the environment is so important. These are identical twins. These are their chromosomes at age 3. They come from one egg. It splits in 2. Okay, that's what identical twins mean, monozygotic. If you look here at the green, that's lighting up methylation patterns of their chromosomes, 1, 3, 12, and 17. You can see that what we call competitive hybridization, and there's a normal metaphase of chromosomes, and you can light this up, okay? And they look kind of pretty closely related, right? Check this out at age 50. At age 50, maybe we can have the light down a little bit in the front, but I don't want to ruin the video for you. So if you have to keep it up, it's all right. But you can see that by age 50, chromosome 3 and 17, they look like they don't even come to the same person, certainly not related. What this is showing us is that the genes give us the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. That's why it's important what you eat. That's why it's important what you're exposed to. And the interesting thing about wireless radiation is that it probably is a promoter as opposed to an initiator. Now, it may be both, but this means that if you are a cancer patient, you certainly want to be careful of your exposure to wireless radiation. Now, for cancer patients, hope has always been the most powerful drug and the strongest selling point. Anyone with cancer wants to get rid of the disease, and the need for treatment is what has driven much of the enterprise. And prevention really, it gets second class, if any consideration at all. And the reason for that, which I reveal in my book, is that in the beginning, the smoking industry was a very big backer of the American Cancer Society. And the first director of the American Cancer Society left his job there to become head of the Tobacco Research Council, which was a very, very wealthy and one of the few organizations to be able to fund scientific research in the 50s and 60s in the United States. Now, moving ahead to the tobacco story. In 1994, leading executives of the tobacco industry swore before Congress that tobacco is neither hazardous nor addictive. They swore, okay? They stood up, and these are all the big guys. And they were convicted eventually of racketeering. They were ordered by Judge Gladys Kessler to publicly admit their deception. You have seen those ads recently popping up in newspapers every once in a while. Those are court-ordered ads. They have been required to admit that they have been deceitful and deceptive because they have manufactured doubt. The manufacturing of doubt is their strategy and worked very well to addict generations to tobacco in this country, and now, unfortunately, it's working in the developing world. We have avoidable deaths from lung cancer and heart disease because of the tobacco industry.